against leg grab in the Zulu dance or Zulu ukufingelana. It's a tactical move that is shown in the dance also. So when a man is standing like this before he dances, usually you see them stepping back. Then after staying back, they leave their arms up in defense. Then the leg comes up, then and stamp on the back of the head. Let me show you with my brother here. So we're standing like this. We want to grab my leg. Obviously, we try to grab the leg in front. So when he steps, he makes a step back. From there, now I lift this and kick him, stamping on the right on the back of the head. One more time. He steps slowly, one. Now I lift this head to hit him here with the heel. Stamping this. Thank you.
Good afternoon, folks, and welcome to FMA Discussion. This is episode 491, and today we're going outside of the FMA box, and we'll be covering African martial arts. And today we have Professor Richard, and hopefully they'll be joining us, Kenneth House. There's definitely been some technical difficulties, hence why we're starting a little later. There's some bad storms up here, so we're going to try to weather it out. If we just go black, I can just tell you it's because I either lost power or internet. But again, we're going to run with it. If you're watching, tell us where you're watching from. Smash that like button, and we're going to get into it. Again, here are our guests, Richard, and I'm hoping Kenneth will be able to get in. Hey there. How are you, sir?
I'm fine now. Thank you for inviting us, first of all. Unfortunately, my colleague Kenneth tried to join, but because of technical issues, he's having problem logging on. But yeah, I'm doing fine. And yeah, how are you doing, sir?
Good, thank you. Yeah, he's in. I'm just hoping he can resolve, which is either a questionable internet connection or usually the camera. He's got what we call the famous blue screen. So I'm just gonna put him on the bottom, watch him. If he can get in, I mean, I'll pop him right back up. I mean, so I'll be able to see when his face comes in. Yeah, so no worries there. But yeah, I'm excited. So this is pretty interesting. I saw a couple of your videos you were posting on there, so it drew my interest to bring you on and kind of dive deeper into what you guys are about, what you're doing. I think the first video I saw of you was very Piper-like, which I do. And I mean, classic number 5, he drifted off there, faked, and came into over there, and all that. So it was interesting though in that vid, and we're gonna get it deeper. I'm gonna post it, but that's kind of what triggered my interest to get you on here and talk. So martial arts background, was it always initially African martial arts, or did you kind of segue into that from something else?
Well, myself, I'll explain a little bit about my background and history and how I came to be where I am. Obviously, now I'm live with you from the UK, but I'm originally from Tanzania, which is a country in East Africa. I was actually born there. So you could say my first introduction to what you might call martial arts or combat sports was traditional wrestling, which in my local language in Tanzania, in Swahili, they call it mieleka, which simply means grappling. So there used to be local teachers near where I was actually born. So from the time when I was 4 or 3 years old, the local wrestling teachers would take me and show me some few moves. From then on, as I grew up, 8, 9, and then we came to the UK. I carried on my training, so to speak. And when I became a teenager, I started learning Sukuma stick fighting, which is a form of stick fighting from the Sukuma tribe in northern Tanzania. They actually use one long stick, to spar and fight. So I learned that. And when I was 17, 18, I ventured into capoeira, capoeira Angola. I did that for a while. And then when I was 21 and
Angola,
discovered
okay.
Dambe boxing, and then from Dambe boxing, went on to Senegalese wrestling, which is Lamb. Also Chigu, which is a grappling form from Uganda. And also another system from the Congo called Libanda, which is from the Mongo tribe in the Congo, which is a combination of grappling, striking, kicking, punching, pressure point striking, weapons work. It encompasses everything. And then from the Libanda in the Congo, then we ventured into like Ghanaian martial arts, the Safo Twele, which is a martial art of the Gar people. Also another form of striking and kicking. And then from there, Nubian wrestling, and then from there down south to the Zulu people. And that's how I made connection with the Zulu people, stick fighting, knife fighting, and run into Brother Patrick, whose clip you just saw.
Oh, okay. So Patrick is still down. Okay, interesting. So your first one, you're saying they used a longer stick. That's funny. So I guess what it'd be is it? In other words, when I look at the Zulu, the stick and shield, the spear and shield, is it similar to that, or is it very different?
There are two forms. There is one form where you use like a long stick, you hold it like so. And there is a second form where you use two sticks like the Zulus. One stick you hold in the left hand, and the other striking hand, which is similar. So that Sukuma stick fighting, that is the only similarity to the Zulu one. So they have a long stick, single stick style, and a double stick style. So in Tanzania, the Sukuma,
Wow.
they're well known for weapons combat. So yeah, that was led me into
How interesting.
weapons, and then discovering the Zulus down south.
So how far back do these, like, for instance, the art that you're speaking on now, like, how far back does that go?
Okay, I'll pick one example. For example, I'll pick Dambo boxing as an example. For example, which is a martial art of the Magzawa people in West Africa, in modern day Nigeria. When most of West Africa was colonized, most of the Magzawa became Muslim. So the Magzawa became Muslim, became known as Hausa. But the initial traditional Magzawa still exists, and they practice a spiritual system called Bori, which is Bori, which encompasses the warrior traditions, philosophy, culture, and whatnot. And Dambe came out of this cultural matrix, in terms of it was used by the Magzawa warrior as unarmed training. So Ed Power, which is also one of our colleagues, he actually did thorough research into Dambe and also talked to Dambe elders in Nigeria as I have. And the Dambe have an oral history going right back to the Nile Valley era, for example, South Sudan. And for many centuries, they migrated across Africa to where they are right now in West Africa. And even Ed Powell noticed that on the tombs of the world, ancient Egyptian boxers have a similar stance, with one hand cocked back, similar to Dambe, and he notices the similarities. And even Magzawa people say that their ancestors who migrated across centuries from Southern Sudan in ancient times, lived in Southern Sudan, Nile Valley areas. So that's where the connection is. So according to chronological anthropological data and also the oral history of the Magzawa, the specific form of, say, Dambe boxing and their wrestling arts goes back thousands of years.
Wow, that's so fascinating and just so little known. I mean, far as over here, you know what I mean? It's just we're only pretty much. I mean, if you say Zulu, folks can acquaint with that. I mean, they know that. But anything else, now the grappling style, So what are those that you've been exposed to?
Like, for example, the first grappling style I was exposed to was Mieleka, which is a grappling form from Tanzania. And the second style was Chigo, which is a grappling style from Uganda. The third style was Libanda, which is a grappling striking from similar to Jiu-Jitsu in the Congo. The fourth one is, Nubian wrestling from South Sudan up north. And also in West, you have Kokawa. Kokawa is like the grappling form also of the Maguzawa. But what people don't know is that the Kokawa and Dambe are linked interchangeably in terms of that in ancient times, it was actually part of this whole system. I mean, what they have right now called MMA, in Africa, intertribal competitions or warriors would want to test each other out. And in these competitions, they did whatever they knew, punching, grappling, and whatnot. And Kokawa was part of this. But over the century, Kokawa and Dambe became separate. So even if you look right now at Maguzawa House of Culture, they call Kokawa traditional wrestling and Dambe traditional boxing. But what people don't know is that it's one art. It's just now they're emphasized separately. And also the Zulus themselves also have their own system called Ukufingilana. Uku, which is UKU in a Zulu or Nguni language, means to fight. And Fingilana means, to hold or tie up. So Ukufingilana means, fighting by holding and tying someone up, basically grappling and, taking someone down. So that's the grappling form of the Zulus. And also up north in Ethiopia, the Oromo have a system, the Oromo tribe, OROMO, have a system called Walanso, WALAANSO, which is also grappling form or aspect. And that's part of their culture. And Walanso comes in two forms. You have the sports version, which they're still shown out to tourists, and they have another form which is not so sport-like. It's more or less anything goes, MMA type of thing where, people do everything from, twisting arms, breaking ribs, fracturing shoulders, hyperextended spines, but they do that in the rural areas. I mean, the Ethiopian government tried to ban it by sending, officials out saying, look, it's modern times, we must be careful.
Yeah,
and this type of practices, they're probably old warrior culture, but in modern times we have to tone it down because my friend in Ethiopia was telling me one particular guy actually died in a Wolonso match. They were grappling. One of the guy took the other guy and threw him down, and he was face down, so lying down. And the other guy with his knee on his spine went on him with his knee on his spine, full force, body weight down. Killed him.
Oh man.
Yeah, and this was it was supposed to be a friendly competition, but obviously one of the guys took it too far. So when the Ethiopian officials heard that, so they now send patrols up to the rural areas saying, we must this type of practice we shouldn't condone it because it's a bit dangerous. Sport is fine, but the other rough stuff we have to tone it down. So unfortunately, yeah. I mean, I think that incident happened in 2001, which is not far back, but it shows you how practical and how part of the culture these traditions still are.
Yeah. What is the grappling style that, I see they're kind of in the sand. Is that a particular grappling style? Some of the videos I've seen. It starts with an S, if I'm
sand wrestling. Well, in Senegal, they have lime, which is done in the sand. In Nigeria, they have kokao, which is also done in the sand. Nubian wrestling, even now in the ancient time, they also do that in the sand. Chigo from Uganda, they also do that in the sand. Mieleka, Nova Tanzania, they do that in the sand. In Congo, which is from South Tanzania, they also do that in the sand. Libanda, Central Africa, they also do that in the sand. So there are about 6 or 7 systems which across Africa are practiced within a circle in sand by itself, amongst others.
Okay, so they kind of make a circular, and that's okay. It just looks fascinating.
Yeah, they make a circle. Yeah, I mean, usually it's a circle, and then at the head of the circle you have the referees, and then next to referees you have the people who are beating the drums, to signal when to start a match, when to stop, or when it's a place, when it's a play for competition, or when it's a serious fight. So what the fighters do, they listen to the different coded messages within the drum beats, and the drum will tell them, okay, this is a friendly
Okay.
match, or this is how to begin, or this is how to stop, or the drum beat might say, okay, now it's all out. You guys can do whatever. So it depends what the drum beats say, and the fighters listening act accordingly. So a lot of people, when they see the drum beats, they just assume it's meaningless noise, but there are encoded messages, hidden messages within the drum beats that only the fighters understand.
That is wow, wow. When you say like anything goes, I mean, within these matches, is there also, the ones you mentioned in Congo and throughout, is there also a ref there as well?
Yeah, there is a ref, whether it's a sport version or anything goes. For example, in a sport version, there is a ref to make sure everyone is safe, no injuries. It's the rules are kept to that. No one does anything to intentionally injure the other person. And also in the anything goes, there is a referee there to make sure that, for example, if somebody is knocked out or they're on the ground unconscious, that the other fighter doesn't, overdo it and carry on, so to speak. And, it's like, okay, the guy's down or he's hurt, fight is over.
Okay. So with just the grappling matches, is it based on the finishes can be like locks, submissions? And is that pretty much like far as who determines who wins or not? Somebody just taps out, so to speak?
Yeah, yeah. In the sports version, the one you see on YouTube or the one that foreigners see when they go to Africa, when they're grappling and one person is down or their back or knee or touch the ground, then the fight is over. But in the more cultural wrestling, which is practiced in the rural areas, which is not, how should I put this? Is not a place where many tourists go.
Yeah.
The rules are a bit
Okay.
different, and you have things like um, locks or chokes or shoulder locks, discretching shoulders, or wrist locks, all those type of things are allowed, and that's how I mentioned the rural area uh, is one. So there is a difference if you watch city wrestling for the tourists or rural wrestling, which is only seen by the locals, which the tourists don't even know exists. So in the sports version
Mm,
shown to the tourists, as soon as your back or knee touch the ground, it's over. But in rural areas, that's where you have all the locks, the chokes, the arm holds, you know, all the different finishing moves. So that's the difference, yeah.
okay. Okay. So in the striking arts, is there a combination of handwork and kicking, or is it mostly hands?
Oh, they're both. I mean, I'll give an example. Dumping boxing, for example, um, you know, one hand to block, the other to strike. I mean, for this blocking hand, it's not blocking in the sense of someone strikes and you block. It's not a block that is
Mm,
kind of like a groupie motion. For example, you know, they would scoop it out. So this hand will be here. The on strike would come, you'd scoop it out, and that would allow you to attack with this. Or you could if you go
okay.
into a clinch position, you could clinch with this and then come in with this. And and
Yeah.
then you
Okay.
have
All
the
right. All right.
elbows, the knees, and then you can do the kicks and the sweeps as well. I mean, you can do that in dumping boxing, yes.
Okay. Okay. And now, is that also like referee? Are you guys gonna have rounds, or is it like time limits or
Yeah.
something? Okay.
Before Dambe, it was
Okay.
just whoever gets knocked out wins. But now in Dambe, they're putting weight classes, they're putting 3-minute rounds, they're putting referees to make it more acceptable or palatable for Western audience. and they've the Nigerian government have said we only allow punches and kicks, at close range, unless it's self-defense. They don't allow the use of the elbows or headbutts or things like
Okay, yeah.
rapid punching or breaking the collarbone. For example, in the old Dambe or the rural Dambe, you see the collarbone, this bone here.
Correct.
This hand in Dambe, the one that that is used to, for example, local parry, you would grab the collarbone here like so, and then you can use that to actually pull down or break the collarbone, and then you'd come in with a fist. So that was some of the things allowed in the old Dambe.
Okay, yeah.
So you grab the collarbone, break it, and but not now. Now is a bit different. But we're talking 1930s, 1940s. That was back then, but now it's a bit more standard.
Okay, so that okay, that's so interesting. So going back to the stick arts, is there competitions where like folks can actually apply the art and like in front of an audience and etc.?
Yep. For example, in down south where you have the Zulus, have these competitions called Unjanjela, which is basically translated means a gathering. It can be done at a wedding. It can be done where people go back to the rural areas on the weekends, or it can be done when there's basically a party, and these different stick fighters from different regions, they meet again in a circle, and then people that they can even bet money and say, okay, I'm so and so from this region, and somebody else will say, okay, I'm so and so from the south region. I hear you're the best, etc., or I've heard about you. Let's sort it out now. People form a circle and they'll go at it. So you literally, you might be, say, at a wedding, and you see someone who you've heard a reputation, or they're a good fighter. So you're thinking, okay, this is a wedding. This is my chance to test him out. So you'd call out that person in front of the whole wedding and say, okay, I've heard about you, your X, Y, and Z, and this is a perfect opportunity, and let's go.
Wow, that's interesting. I'm trying. Kenneth is coming in, but I can't. He's got his vid or something going on. I'm gonna put him on the. I mean, as soon as we can see him, I'll put him right in. I just can't hear.
Slowly, slowly is coming in, but he'll make it eventually.
Hopefully he'll. Yeah, and that's why. So I'm definitely gonna be watching out for him. So the stick arts, I mean, like, is it again, like with the ref there, is it rounds, or is it, I mean, is it based on like who got hit the most, or like how would the stick arts work as far as like,
for example, in a Zulu stick fighting is very simple. Two people fight. I know it sounds gruesome, but whoever gets hit, cut open, blood comes out, they lose. Or some people just literally get knocked out. They don't have any paddings or arm pads or anything like that. It is literally one stick for defending, one to strike, and who can ever find an opening end, hit the other person, crack a skull open, that person has won. The only reason the referee is there is to make sure that they use this swinging style as opposed to stabbing each other, which is not allowed. Apart from that, is basically whoever gets hit, head cut open, loses.
Are the sticks equal as far as diameter going all, as far as the length is, or is there a heavier end at the end? Like I look at the Zulu war clubs, like, I mean, they have that heavy end. Is that, but not every style has that, right? Yeah.
Not every style, no. I mean, the Zulu have a ball at the end, so when they swing the stick, they kind of whipping circular stick, generates a lot of whip. So when the hand does make contact with you, it's quite it does hurt, quite. I mean, even I've been hit, in the elbow and shoulders. I'm a teacher, so it's quite painful.
Yeah, I know I have
yeah.
one.
In terms of
I can imagine, man, get clubbed by that thing. That's like.
I know. I mean, when I was sparring with my teacher, I was hit here on the shoulder. Where the top of where the shoulder joins the arm, right between the joint, and for 6 weeks, it was swollen up. I mean, it literally, paralyzed my arm. As soon as they hit me, my arm went down. It's just very painful.
So, all right, you live in England now. So now, though, what arts are you teaching in England?
Well, me myself, I mean, I don't teach. We're learning from those who teach us. Whether it's in the Congo or Nigeria or in a diaspora, people like the US. And we might show somebody, okay, this is the stage where we're at now, but those who teach us have not authorized us to say, okay, now you can go out and teach the curriculum that we're teaching you yet, until we see that you're ready. So because obviously we have to follow their rules and we have high regard and respect for them, we're not going to break that bond and, set up shop and, I'm going to teach X, Y, and Z. I'm going to start charging this admission fee because if they realize what we're doing, then, they'll say, who gave you permission to, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
They have to give permission and say, okay, once you reach a certain level that we feel that you're ready, then we can give you permission to teach. Because until they tell us, okay, we're ready, we know we're novices, we're not going to go out and start calling ourselves, for example, I don't know, masters or experts, because we have not been given proper authority by those who are teaching us. Until they say, okay, you are at this level, this is your title, whatever, then we can start using it. But until then, we're just students.
So are you still you're going down there frequently still and learning all the different styles?
Actively. Always.
Okay.
What do you So go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. So what do you like when you go down there? What are you pursuing? Is it a blend? You're getting some grappling, some striking, and some of the weapon stuff?
It's trying to see how I can explain. In the African arts, when you say weapons or grappling, it's not as separate as it is in, say, Asia or the West. Like, for example, when two warriors are fighting, they go and at it, both have sticks and they're fighting, and one loses a stick and then the other one grabs the other sticks and drops. Then they change it to grappling mode. And then when that doesn't work, then they go into strike. And so the whole thing, for example, it might be one fight. So when the instructors teach you, they don't say, okay, first we're going to teach you empty hands, and then we're going to teach you weapons, and then we're going to teach you knife, and then we're going to teach you, it's part of the whole thing. They would say to you, for example, we're going to teach you how to survive. And in order to survive, when you meet someone and they want to do you harm or you want to protect yourself, they will come at you in this manner. And when they come at you in this manner, they will use these weapons. And in order to defend yourself against these weapons, you have to do X, Y, and Z. But if you do not have a weapon, then you have to transition from not having a weapon. If you drop your weapon into this level, and if the person is close, then you have to do this, this, and this. But when they teach that as a curriculum, they don't teach it as, we're going to teach you empty hands and weapons. They say, we're going to teach you combat, and part of the combat, these are the scenarios that could happen. So we're going to teach you different scenarios within that whole sphere, so to speak. So when we are taught we don't say to them, okay, teach us empty hands or teach us weapons. We just say to them, teach us how in your community you survived, or how the warriors protected the community, or how they survived in the wilderness, and how they were able to build this great empire, great kingdom, etc., etc. And then they will teach you the whole encompassing what you need to learn, because in the African arts, the difference between empty hands and weapons is not like separate. For example, in Zua, which is South Sudan, they might start off with a long range, standing 6 feet or 5 feet apart. Then when the weapons become too close, they drop them and they go into wrist knives, which are the Zua, which are tried in the wrist, like so. And it's a bit similar to Dambe in terms of the wrist knives are tied here in a circular motion. So the hand will be in this position or this position. And then the other, they'll be both, like this, and then they will strike in this type of manner and, block accordingly. And then when they get too close and they can't use the wrist knives, then they do the grappling. And when the grappling gets too close, then they do the throws and go to the ground and do all the locks and things from the ground. Why? They still have the wrist knife. So that's just one example where you flow from the stick to the knife, to the grappling, to the ground fighting, all four ranges taught in one system, which they call Zua. So when people say, is Zua empty hand or weapons, they don't have that concept there. They just say it's just fighting. But within the fighting, it encompasses all these ranges.
Right, exactly. Interesting how you were saying the punches,
Does that make sense?
Are coming to. Yeah, no, it absolutely does make sense. Yeah. So going back, I mean, were there a lot of so these different systems, a lot of intertribal wars protecting of villages and et cetera?
Yeah. For example, I'll give you one example. In northern Nigeria, where you have the Maguzawa Hausa and another people called the Nupe, which is Nupe, there were two kingdoms that were neighboring tribes. You had the Maguzawa, which are now called the Hausa in this area, and you had the Nupe tribe, or the Nupe wars in this area, but they shared borders and they interacted, they fought with each other, they intermarried, all the usual things. And then they also had intertribal competition between the two. Now, the Maguzawa have Dambe, which everybody knows about, Dambe boxing, one and two strike. The Nupe have a system called Ekose, which is Ekoce, which is similar to Dambe, but the Nupe people use two hands to punch and kick, whereas in Dambe is one hand to punch and kick. So they would have a competition between the top Ekose fighter and the top Dambe fighter into tribal to see who was the best. And then whoever won would be crowned as intertribal champion.
Okay. Got it. Nice. Okay. So, to the Zulu, what other systems, is there other systems in African arts that just teach knife, just knife period, or is that rare, not as common?
Yeah, there is a system, for example, called let me see. They teach sword and knife. The Alpha in Ethiopia. They have a long knife called the Jil, which is Jile. But the Jil is the name of the knife, plus is also the name of the system. It's like a long curved knife, and they literally there was a whole system, a whole fighting method around that knife fighting system of the Alpha tribe in Ethiopia called the Jile. So the Jile is both the name of the knife and the system. And in the Alpha are very good with the knife, very good. I remember once one of my Alpha friends, he had like a rubber knife. He wanted to demonstrate to me how they do what they do. And, so I asked him to show me, and then, but they're very quick, very deceptive. The way they they move is not how you think they move, because but you try to like when you're sparring someone, you try to see a pattern or somewhere where you can exploit their openings to your advantage. But they seem random, but their randomness somehow to them has a method, which to someone who's never encountered is confusing. Because if you're fighting them and you don't know where they're coming from, suddenly, you know, you go for a slash, whatever, and then, oh, your wrist is cut, or you go back and then suddenly, you know, your rib has been hit, and then neck, you know, then your knee, then, you know, you get a knife through the knee, you know, that type of thing. You don't expect. And then, but this is like, it's just in a sparring situation, not like a real combat. So they're showing you what would happen if that was for real. So he showed me that with a rubber knife, and I was blown away. So yeah, so the Alpha tribe in Ethiopia, the Jile, the JILE is both the name of the knife and also the system. So they're they're quite good at it. Yes.
So besides them, is it them and like, because the Zulu actually have knife, or is it, in other words, like if you look at the numbers gangs in Cape Town, I mean, it's not really a codified system. It's these gang members that took the influence from different arts. Is that, am I correct in that?
It's similar to how for example, you know, in Brazil a long time ago, capoeira was just seen as a method or used by bandits or the, you know, or the outlaws. It was not systemized in a sense. It was just something that they grew out of that type of culture. It's similar to Cape knife fighting, you know, which grew up, you know, from the influence of Zulu stick fighting and knife fighting. And also the Zulus do have an own known knife fighting system called Isijula. You know, the Isijula is the name of, again, like the Alpha, the Isijula is the name of the actual knife itself, and also the fighting system, which what a lot of people don't know is that even before Shaka was born, the Zulu had a very unique codified method of knife fighting, which still exists today. And as you saw from the clip, when my friend had demonstrating,
Yeah,
he was, you know, the way he was moving and covering with a knife, and, you know, moving side to side and forward, you know, to confuse the opponent, because the opponent didn't know where it's coming from. You know, that's literally Zulu knife fighting, which is translated to street. You know, mixing with a bit of Kosa, a bit of this, you know, to give it flavor. But the basis is the Nguni of Zulu knife fighting, and also Zulu knife fighting Institute still exists right now.
What is the length of the knife the typical Zulu guys would use? Is it on the longer end?
It varied. I mean, before colonization, the knife was, for example, the knife was similar in length to like, you know, the length of my forearm, type of similar. But during colonization or apartheid, when people in the rural areas, you know, they were banned from carrying outwardly weapons, so to speak, they had to make the knife shorter so they could conceal it easily. For example, in you know, the pocket or trousers, you know, so the length became smaller and smaller. For example, you know, it could even be the length of a hand, for example, so it'd be easily concealed. So when you did have to use it, you know, you can, you know,
like
you could just reach into your,
something like this, for instance.
similar,
Something
yes,
like around
yes,
that
yes.
size.
So that when you have to do what you have to do, you know, you could, for example, like in South Africa, for example, you'd be speaking to somebody, is threatening, you know, your arms would be so, and, you know, you'd be saying sorry, you know, oh, you want money? Let me reach in and get my wallet. But it's not your wallet you're getting out, it's a knife. And then, you know, and then before you know it, you know what I mean? Like somebody standing there with a knife saying, give me your wallet. You say, okay, fine, you know, don't hurt me. Let me just get my wallet. You know, you'd reach in, and then, you know, you pretend in your cough and you step forward, and before you know it, you do what you have to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So what's your familiarity with like piper, or what's called piper today, but pre-existed before that name with the numbers gangs, the 28s, the 27s. I mean, like, what's your knowledge on that?
I mean, according to my friend and also a fellow instructor, Patrick, who you saw in the clip, I think he showed him doing his thing. Piper as a name, according to what he told me, is a I don't know, maybe it's a term used in the past 20 years. Before that, it was just called, numbers, because of the gangs and whatnot. And then before that, it was just Cape knife fighting because of the area where it was. And then before that, going back to the 1800s, like the old Zulu and Nguni people, they would just say it's Nguni knife fighting. And then before that, it was just Zulu knife fighting. Okay. So throughout the centuries, the term, terminology changed. In the same way, for example, like in the olden times, capoeira was called Angola, and then it became capoeira Angola, and now it's called capoeira regional. Yeah. So the term changes according to the time period.
Right. Okay.
Of the term that's used there. So it's similar to.
Let's show this. I mean, I thought this is so similar to what we're
doing. Like your eagle stance, where everything is up here, and they would use the elbow and the wrist to hide and to go to the angle of entry of the staff. Okay. So they come in that way. So you're not sure where it's coming in.
I think my colleague says his camera is operating correctly.
Every time, fork and knife.
His cameras. That was awesome.
Okay, so what comes in from the bottom head and come up top, that type of thing, and I'm putting more pressure, because what I'm trying to suffocate any retaliation, close down. Okay? If I see any danger coming to them, I must be able to still pull out and keep him occupied. I can't pull out and still have an open invitation. So
that was awesome. Yeah, I mean, that's so similar. So he yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying. Like, what was Zulu knife to Zuni knife to to Cape Town knife fighting to Viper, you know what I mean? Through decades or years. Is that something you guys? Is it Patrick who just does that? I mean, have you tried to study any of that or no?
Sorry, could you repeat the question, please?
So have you trained in any of that material, like what Patrick was showing?
Well, I've done Zulu stick fighting with my this is my teacher Elliot, who was my first Zulu instructor. He showed me the bit of the axe work and a bit of the Zulu knife fighting, and that was before I met Patrick. So also when I ran into Patrick and then I saw the clip after a while, it's the same thing my teacher was showing me. And then I spoke to Patrick again. Yeah. He told me about his background. Yeah, he knew the Zulu knife, and also he's part of the Piper group as well. And and in that particular clip, he was demonstrating how Zulu weapons work, influence, and is intertwined into Cape knife fighting, which now is known as Piper, which Patrick is also an expert in.
Nice.
So the Zulu stick fighting that I did and the knife fighting that I learned was similar to what he showed here.
Got it. Okay. So is Patrick? Is he trained under Nigel?
Patrick is one of the, from what I understand, he's one of the instructors and affiliated to that group. So he's done a lot of work with them. He told me his background growing up. He learned from his brother, his father, his older brother. So Zulu stick fighting, axe work, knife fighting. He learned all this prior to become or evolved with the Piper group. You know, so when he came to them, you know, they're like comparing us, and they're like, oh, you know, so Patrick would say, okay, I can see you guys doing this, but you know the origins of that technique or where that came from. And you know, they would say it's just something that we've done, and then Patrick would break it down and say, okay, in Zulu we do X, Y, and Z, and then this technique is how morphed into what you guys now called Cape Nafat, you know, piper. So Patrick would break down the history, lineage, and actually show the connection, like, you know, A, B, C, how it came to be.
Wow, that's fascinating. I mean, yeah. So sounds like he might be a guardian. I mean, you know, obviously, that's awesome. Yeah, that makes sense. Like he's kind of giving them, like he had a background already with Zulu arts coming into that. So, yeah, I'm sure they were. So obviously, he came in with some, you know, his movement historically, and obviously just knowing the arts, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what that clip he just showed. He was demonstrating how that particular sequence with the knife and, you know, with the slap him on the elbow, how he came from the Zulu cultural base, and how that morphed into what became known as Cape knife fighting and piper.
Right, exactly. Nice. So where did you guys go now? So eventually, is your goal like you want to spread, you know, once your teachers give you permission, you want to definitely spread, you know, and the arts in England or worldwide?
Once they give us permission, you know, some of them might even be watching now. Once they give us permission, then, you know, yeah, the idea is to spread the different centers, you know, Europe, US, wherever people want to learn, and because we already have centers in Africa all over, like, you know, West Africa, East Africa, Central, South, Angola, Northeast Africa, Madagascar. We already have centers all over Africa doing what needs to be done, but nobody outside knows what we know, how rich and different the different world traditions in Africa are. You know, so we're trying to share that, because a lot of people have misconceptions. You know, they just think African martial arts is throwing spears and stick fighting. They have no idea the wealth of what exists across the continent.
No, I think you're absolutely right on
So
that.
we just
I really do think that's the perception. Like they just think like you, like again, like when I was mentioning early in the talk, like yeah, everybody has some assimilation or knowledge or seen Zulu. You know, there's the spear, stick, shield. But much to your point, I don't think they understand about the boxing or the grappling, like the 6 grappling art, different systems that you just mentioned. You know what I mean?
For example, yeah, I mean, let me take the Zulu as one example. A lot of people know about Zulu stick fighting and spear and shield work because it's been popularized in the movie Zulu, different books, different research. Everybody in the world knows about that. But a lot of people don't know about Ukufingilana, which is a Zulu unarmed combat. You know, because a lot of people have this misconception that, oh, the Zulus only know how to use spears and shield, which is logically doesn't make sense, because if you're a warrior like a Zulu and you're fighting, you have a shield and a spear, and you're fighting and another man is trying to kill you, and you lose your shield or you drop your spear, you know, I mean, in the heat of battle, you're not going to stand there and say, oh, I don't know how to do empty hands, I'm going to die now, you know.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean?
No, what? Yeah, 100%, absolutely. Yeah, right. You're just gonna just say,
You know, I don't want to do empty hands, I'm going to die now, because the warrior was taught how to use both weapons and, you know, unarmed combat as well. So when we tell people this, a lot of them are surprised. They say, "Oh, we never heard of this."
yeah, yeah. I mean, no, some of the ones that you mentioned today, I'll be honest, I've never heard of. So I'm just thinking from the folks that escalate. Yeah, absolutely. So Well, I hope you guys spread it. I hope you guys, I mean, and I think that'd be so interesting, once you guys get the blessing from your teacher, to start teaching it, and that I think it's long overdue that they get their highlight. I mean, what can you say? Okay, so on Capoeira, Angola. So is that where like a lot? Is that kind of where capoeira kind of originated in Angola?
Capoeira has two origins. Uh, One is Angola, which is West Central Africa. The other one is Nigeria. From Angola, you have like an art called Ngolo, which is Ngolo or Engolo, which is a martial arts of the Bantu people from the area, which was used as arm training for the warriors and also in wedding rituals. For example, the best Ngolo practitioner was chosen to be captain or to be in part of the king's army. Or the other context it was used was in a courtship ritual. For example, if all the men in a village desired a particular lady to marry, for example, they could have come to an agreement. They would basically fight for her, you know.
Oh, okay.
So while the chosen lady would watch the two men in a circle, just using kicks would is basically kick fighting, would fight each other, and whoever won the competition got to marry her. So if you had 200 suitors, all those 200 would pair and then and then fight until they were all doing it down to the last two, and whoever won got to marry the local princess.
Okay.
Yeah. So capoeira has two origins: Angola, which is from Angola, and also Equatorial, which is from the Nupe tribe in in what they call right now Nigeria. I'll explain. For example, if you look at the historical record of 16th century Brazil or 16th, early 17th century, and you see the early capoeira circles, or what they call maltas, which is MALTAS, or capoeira groups that used to roam the streets, demonstrating capoeira, trying to make money, basically survive together. There used to be groups based on different ethnic groups. So you had one capoeira malta group, which was Hausa or Maguzawa, and you had one which was Nupe. And the Nupe brought in Ekoche, which also has kicks in it, practice circle, similar to Angola. So in Brazil, when those two tribes met and shared their knowledge, eventually what they shared, coalesced into the earliest forms of capoeira, and then throughout the ages, that's what we have right now.
Interesting. So, but as far as Nigeria capoeira and Angola, what are the differences as far as there?
The difference is in Nigeria, the kicks they use more of, like I would say, high kicks, like for example, to the head region and the chest.
Okay.
Whereas in Angola, the kicks are lower, more towards the stomach and the groin area.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So that's the difference, between high kicks and low kicks. That would be my first observation. And in Nigeria, like in Equatorial, the kicks they were more. For example, when somebody kick, for example, like they kick your ankle, it wouldn't be like the circular roundhouse type kick to the ankle. It would be literally like a stomp. For example, you would stomp at the side of someone's ankle to literally break the ankle. That was the aim.
Yeah. 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 Okay. I can see that. Okay. Yeah. I think it's
So
fascinating.
that's one of the differences which I can see personally myself. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's fascinating to watch. Yeah. I mean, and
Capoeira, yeah. I mean, it's quite, it's very physically demanding. Yeah. I mean, like I said, what we're trying is to show that these things exist. I mean, we're not saying we know everything, which is impossible because there's so many different ethnic groups in Africa. It's impossible to know everything.
yeah.
We only know what those who taught us have taught us.
Yeah.
And we're still learning more. And when they say to us, okay, now you have permission to do X, Y, and Z, then we'll do it. I mean, until then, we never like to say we're how should I put it, teachers or masters, because we know right now we're just students in terms of how they regard us. Because those people who are teaching us are still telling us, you guys are at this stage. Once you get to a certain stage where we feel you're ready, then we can say to you, okay, you now have permission to go and do what you need to do. But until then, we're just students.
Right. Yeah, yeah. No, I think it's fascinating though what you're trying to do, and hopefully you guys are able to teach it one day, and you can start spreading it and make the world aware that it's just not Zulu stick fighting. That's the only thing, or capoeira in Africa.
And since the rise of the MMA, with the grappling and judo that you see on MMA and everything, and people talk about African wrestling or grappling. A lot of people seem to be surprised when you mention things like locks or pressure point or ground fighting, because when they see African wrestling on TV, all they see is just the traditional wrestling and they assume that is it. I mean, that'll be like comparing, that'll be like watching Japanese sumo on TV and, thinking everything in Japan was like sumo, not knowing that Aikido exists, not knowing that Jiu-Jitsu exists, not knowing that Judo exists.
Right.
You see the similarities?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's the same with Africa. When people see traditional wrestling, they just think that is it. They don't know about the other stuff, like the Ukufingilana, like the Ijikadi, like the Chigu, like the Mieleka, like the Mkongo, like the Libanda, like the Walonsa in Ethiopia, like the Reis in Ethiopia. They don't know about the Nube wrestling. They don't know about the Zua. They don't know about, Musango down south, which is vendor boxing, which also has elements of grappling. There's so many. I could sit here hours rattling on about us that nobody's ever heard of, but a few volumes. That's one of the reasons why we have an online magazine called Revealing Knowledge.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that. Right now.
Different, because I was trying to post the link.
I'm gonna post it for you. Matter of fact, here I'm gonna post it for you right now in the comment section. But while I do that, yeah, tell us about the magazine. What was the inspiration, and like, what's the goal of the magazine?
Well, I'll explain the name. First of all, the actual name, Revealing Knowledge. The reason that was chosen is because the knowledge that we're trying to show, or aspects of African culture, is what people don't know. So we're just revealing it to the world, hence the term Revealing Knowledge. It's basically a magazine about different cultures throughout Africa in terms of world traditions, martial arts, physical conditioning, medicine, philosophy, and how those things intertwined to form the cultural matrix of what anthropologists, when they first came to Africa, called African world traditions. And what we're doing throughout the different magazines issues that come both in PDF format, which can be purchased online, or hard copies, which take like a week to deliver, or the PDF, which you can literally download in like 2 minutes once you purchase, is to show a breakdown of how these things are, the historical background, which tribe does them, their references, for historical references, whether it's oral traditional Western pictures of them, different types of techniques, where in Africa these things are found. So when people buy the magazine, they can actually see where these things are. For example, if you go to Nigeria, you can say, oh, in Nigeria, there's this tribe that does X, Y, Z. Next time when I'm in that part of the world, I can visit them and find out more about what they do and actually see it in action. I can learn from the teachers. I can see a demonstration. All those things. It's like a guide, or I would say it's like a guidebook or a tool book for people, for lack of a better term, who want to know about the different world traditions and martial arts of Africa, which nobody knows exists. Let me give you one example. Have you ever been to any African country yourself, or?
I have not yet.
Right. If you could go, which African country would you like to go to?
Ooh, that's a great question. It probably would be, I've always been kind of Angola. I've always been just fascinated with that capoeira,
That's it. So, for example, if you go to Angola, if you read a magazine, if you go to Angola, you know that if you go to Angola, you can experience Angola, which is the ancestors of Angola. You can experience Kandeka, which is palm fighting, which is also the hand aspects of Angola. You can experience Njumbo, which is traditional grappling, which is throwing, kicking, punching, and whatnot. And you can experience Njumbo Mongo, which is grappling and ground fighting with the locks and throws. So straight away, one country just mentioned Angola. In our magazine, there are 4 different arts that if you go to that particular country, you know where to go, which village you go to, which tribe does them, and within that tribe, who you can find to demonstrate on actually, if you're like an adventurer, who to learn from while you're there in that country.
I just posted a link here. You can see it right in the comment section. So what I posted was what you sent me a messenger as far as the international films. Let me just make sure. Is that the correct? I just want to make sure I got the correct one there.
Yeah. It's a one when I sent you, when I said if they want to buy a magazine, here's the link. Is that one there? Yeah.
Okay. I'm just double checking right now, but I that's what I posted there. So because I know you sent me, I just want to make sure they're the same ones, which I think they are. Yeah. Okay. Yep.
And also, I want to mention that in the US, there are actually other people who also teach African arts. I mean, I can mention 2 off the bat. For example, in San Diego in the West, you have Dennis Newsom, who teaches capoeira, kalinda, and race, which is Ethiopian headbutting.
Okay.
And in Hawaii, you have Burton Richardson. I'm not sure if you've heard of him.
Burton's my teacher. Yeah.
Oh, he's a teacher. Oh.
Oh yeah, no, we're really close. Yeah, no, yeah. So Burton, matter of fact, Burton does the Zulu, right? He's kind of in.
Yes.
Yeah.
He does the Zulu stick fighting. He does. He's also done Zulu spear and shield. He's also done the Selepi, which is a Zulu axe fighting. So he even in thinking there was a school in Hawaii. Sometimes there he has sessions where he just has a whole class that teaches just a Zulu stick fighting. So yeah, he's quite knowledgeable. And also there's also another guy in California called there was a guy, what's his name? Robert Wilson or Mr. Wilson. He's been to Nigeria many times, and he's actually one of the few Westerners or Caucasians who actually, studied the Yoruba spiritual traditions. He's learned Kidibu or Ijikade, and for a few times he's also taught some few people in California. So right off the bat, you have 3 people already.
Right.
Many of them are mentioned in our magazines in the US right now, who actually actively know or can teach African arts.
That's wow. I knew, but yeah, wow. That's and all they need to do is all right. I just want to make sure. So all they need to do is they just click on this link, right?
Correct. Yeah. Now, if you click, it'll take you to a page where you can see the magazine.
Okay. And let me just see here. Somebody do me a favor if you're watching. Click on the link I just posted and see what it does. I can't click on it right now.
Oh, I see.
But hold on here. I might. You know what? Yeah.
Just try it out. See if it works.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it. Right. You know what? I'm gonna do it from the messenger what you sent me, and see what comes up. Okay, it's coming up now. Yeah. Okay. Wow. It's pretty. And how many issues do you have out so far?
So far, there should be 5 or 6 issues, but I'm in the process of writing some more. There was some slight delay because each issue before it's published, we have to get permission from the teachers. So far we've done 5 or 6 issues. So for the next issue, we're waiting permission. Now we've been given, we can finish off this issue, because before we release them, the teachers actually have to read each issue to make sure the information is correct.
Okay.
And then they give us permission to release it, because I mean, a lot of people, they've always said to us, you know, you guys should write many books, you should do this film, that film. What they don't realize is that before we actually write, release, or make any clip, we have to get permission from those teaching us. You know, if they say yes, we do it. I mean, sometimes they say yes, sometimes they say no, sometimes they say, let's think about this, and then we'll see. Because a lot of people assume once you start learning these methods that you can just set up shop, you know, put a website and just start writing stuff, which is I wish it was that easy, but
yeah,
unfortunately, no. Everything that we do, we have to get permission from the elders.
yeah, no, I get it. No, and I think that's great. Yeah, I mean, quality control and just making sure, yeah, the stuff's just not flying out there, and so I could definitely understand that.
Exactly, yeah, because I mean, because oh, you see the link? Oh, yes, that's the one.
There you go, folks. Actually, folks, you should check this out. It's pretty laid out. I'm scrolling down now, and it shows each one that's here. I'll show you guys here. Okay, the next one there. I mean, we have some, grappling there. Next one, some more grappling. And oh yeah, here. This is really neat. Oh, we got some punching. I'm gonna be checking this out. You got me really curious. And then
Yeah, and yeah,
yeah, that's a great picture.
and each issue, like I said, comes in 2 forms. If you want the physical, that's the first one. Yes.
This is the first issue. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Fascinating. So man. Okay, so and it's 25 depending on which one, but 15 pounds?
Yeah, if that's for the downloadable version.
15 pounds, hard copy, 25. There we go. Got it. So folks, so pounds versus dollars, it's gotta be pretty close, right? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, you know, the exchange rate is more or less similar. Yeah.
yeah. So folks, you're looking at $15 for the download, $25 if you wanted the hard copy, and like $40 if you want both. Yeah, I'm gonna go on here. I'm definitely wow. I think it's really well laid out.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, and also, can I just say one thing?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, all the information you find within the magazine has been fully researched, and it can be independently fact checked and verified. For example, if you buy a magazine and then you read about South Africa, for example, or you read about the Zulu or this tribe, and then you want to see for yourself if the fact matches out, you can actually go to this particular tribe or group and actually cross-reference with what we've written to check everything 100%. We never write everything and say, believe us. We say, okay, here's the information that we presented, checked with us by the elders. If you don't believe us, go to that particular group and check for yourself.
Yeah. No, it's also, folks, they got a media section. You can check out videos. They have an about section here where they kind of give, some, just some content there. It's definitely worth just click on the link. The link I just posted here, folks, and it'll take you everything I just showed you as far as the pictures, how you can get the magazine, and looks pretty interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, it's an ongoing. We do it we try to do it every 3 months. So the next couple of issues should come in the next week, and within those magazines, you cannot find that writing material anywhere, not even in the Library of Congress.
Yeah, you guys went out there and actually researched and interviewed, and I mean, yeah, wow.
And the thing that is ironic is when Africa was colonized, European powers came, and slavery and minerals and all the rest of it, and a lot of the anthropologists who were researching in Africa about traditional African culture, whether it's philosophy, cuisine, military or religion. A lot of them, very few actually spent any vast amount of time describing the different combat traditions, per se. Which is when we look at all the different writers for the past 200 years, that's, for us, it's quite ironic, because when you look at the whole east of Africa, the reason it was colonized was the conflict between the indigenous world traditions and colonizers, from different wars. And you would think the main reason why Africa is the way it is today because of colonization, and you have imperialists, and then different types of conflicts back and forth that no one has actually studied and written, actually dissected how the Africans defended themselves, what they defended themselves with, what weapons were used, and any outcome, how they trained, how they body conditions, how the warriors kept physically fit, what food they ate. I mean, there was a whole section for the African war tradition, exactly what they ate. For example, in West Africa, like the Senegalese warriors or Sierra warriors, they ate a lot of pounded yam, potato, peanuts for the protein, and for breakfast they would have something like a mixture of cow's milk. They would mix the cow's milk with honey. And then they would have that with ground nuts. That was the warrior's breakfast.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, because they figured out the proteins helped you bulk up, with the protein to make you big and strong.
Yeah.
And the milk and honey, was, because it's in the morning, something sweet. So yeah, I mean, nobody in the Western or anthropological field, so to speak, has ever written about how the warriors ate, how they slept, how they trained, what method. So in the magazines, we actually break this all down. For example, I'll give you one. Okay, the Zulu warriors, for example, in South Africa.
Okay.
Part of their training was not only military, but they also learned how to navigate by using the stars, the constellations at night. They would learn how to read weather patterns. For example, they learned different cloud formations so they could track and predict when it would rain. The reason being, if a general wanted to set up a battle formation in a particular area or to attack the enemy, by predicting the direction of the wind and rain, he could then position his army at a particular area where the ground was firm and not too slippery for his advantage. So when the warriors would attack, on their side, they would be on slippery ground. So it would make the general's attack formation easier. See, all this was part of the warrior training, tracking animals, physical conditioning, navigating through the stars, predicting weather conditioning, what edible plants to eat, what plants were poisonous, how to track animals, how to kill animals in the wild and actually cook them when there's no food around. If you're injured, how to take care of the injured body. The Zulus had one particular method. If someone was struck on the head, for example, and then the left or the right side of the head swelled up and it filled up with brain or fluid from the brain, what the Zulu doctor would do, they would, with a small bone or even like a knife, they would bore like a hole in the opposite side of where the swelling of the skull was, and that would drain all the fluid which was pressing down on the brain. That would be drained out through the other hole, which means that the warriors would survive. They would then be taken back to the village, given food, care, and they would survive. But that was knowledge taught to the warrior.
That's incredible.
Yeah, which when you read any book on Zulu culture by Western anthropologists, no one mentions this.
No, that's incredible. What you just said there, as far as like a head trauma, going to the other side so it can drain out. I mean, that's incredible. Wow.
Precisely. Yeah. I mean, even now, for example, in the US, for example, in the army, you have people who've gone to war in the Middle East. They come back with what you guys would call post-traumatic stress.
Yeah, post-traumatic stress. Yeah, disorder. Right.
Where they're not in the Zulu culture, if a warrior went to war, you know, they killed somebody, before they came back to their family and into normal society, they would spend a few weeks or maybe a month in like a village, in order to psychologically unwind from killing somebody. So they wouldn't go back to normal society and start acting all crazy. For example, I mean, if you're a man, you have a family, you just gone to war, you're a Zulu warrior, you spend 2 hours and you killed maybe 100 people close range with a knife. You know, you've seen the look on their face, you know, you smelt and you've been splashed with blood, and then you go back home to your wife and kids. You're not going to be mentally in the right place to actually reintegrate into normal society. So what the Zulu in Yanga did, which in Yanga is like a Zulu doctor, or you know, not witch doctor, which is a you know, term that Western Africans like to use, would put the warriors in a village away from society so that they could de-escalate and, you know, become less violent, so they could get back to their family and start acting normal. Yeah. And what people in the West found out was that in traditional Africa, that was how they dealt with post-traumatic stress.
That's incredible. So, like, they thought about that.
So you know, I brought that fact out because a lot of things happen right now to military men.
Yeah.
They could learn a lot by looking at societies like Africa, how they dealt with things.
I think that's incredible. Like, they actually thought about that. Like, instead of sending these guys back to a family structure when they haven't even decompressed or even dealt with any of this stuff. I mean, like, they go. I think that's so interesting. Yeah, we could use a lot of that. Yeah,
because I mean, especially in the modern world, you know, I mean, you're there in the US, if somebody's gone to war and killed many people, and I'm using an example like in modern times, and they come back to the US, you know, I don't know, say they live in California, and 2 weeks ago they were in the Middle East and they've killed 100 people. If they come back home and then you just send them back home to their wife and kids, they're not going to be in a mentally right, you know, state to be functioning normal.
Yeah, and what they do is they get back home and then they have they have a outbreak, or they have just a shutting down, or just, you know, whatever, a traumatic episode or whatever happens, and then they deal with it. You know, then they send them off to, well, hopefully they deal with it. But yeah, no kind of preemptive measures though, like you're
exactly,
just
saying, you know? But in Africa, amongst the Zulu, amongst the Shanti in West Africa, amongst the Maasai, amongst the Nuba in the Nubia, amongst the Angolan warriors, amongst the Mongol people in Central Africa, amongst the Afar in Ethiopia, amongst the warriors in Ethiopia, they all had different institutions, so that when a man came back from war, in order for them to go back into normal society, they would spend 2 weeks or maybe a month away from the family, just to de-escalate so that they could get function normally. So, and the ironic thing is, when some of these areas of Africa were colonized, that's why in Ethiopia still exists, because Ethiopia is the only African country, I don't know if you know about this, that was never colonized.
No, I didn't. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was never colonized. I mean, in 1897, the Italians, look it up, the Battle of Adwa, 1897, for anybody who's looking, the Italians tried to colonize Ethiopia. But what the Ethiopian emperor did, he got the Oromo, the Afar, all the different warrior tribes of Africa, of Ethiopia, said, look, these people want to come take our land, enslave us, do X, Y, and Z. Let's come together, use our collective war traditions, and protect ourselves. And that's what happened at the Battle of Adwa. You know, and if you look at the Battle of Adwa, some of the Ethiopian troops, they had weapons, cannons, and guns as well, which they were using. But at close quarters, they had a long sword called the Shotel, which is Shotel. And they had a special military unit called the Shotele. The Shotele were experts in close quarter combat with their sword, Shotel. So at long range, when the Ethiopian army, and when the Italians came, the Ethiopian army would use guns and whatnot. And then when it came hand to hand, they would send in the ground troop, which was the Shotele, to close quarters to how should I put this? Clean up the leftover, the people who wanted to go hand to hand, who didn't want to give up, basically. And this tradition in Ethiopia, the Shotele right now, every year when they celebrate the victory of the Battle of Adwa, which when Ethiopia faced Italy, they still have people demonstrating the Shotele.
Oh, wow.
So yeah. I mean, is that even right now in Ethiopia, that tradition of secluding someone away from normal society, in a village before they go back to normal society, they still have that tradition right now in Ethiopia because it was never colonized. But the rest of Africa, like Nigeria, Angola, South Africa, Congo, Namibia, Madagascar, Tanzania, Southern Sudan. Ironically, most of these traditions, when the West came in and saw the tradition of taking a warrior, secluding them before they go back into normal society, they banned and outlawed them as ineffective, which to me is ironic because right now in the West, when soldiers suffer from post-traumatic stress, they're now realizing those traditions that they banned in Africa are the very things right now therapists are recommending as to the cure, which is, to me, that's very, very, very amusing.
Nothing surprises me today. Yeah, but yeah, that's just terrible. Like, yeah, something that appeared to be very effective, or at least an attempt to get them reacclimated to society and family structure and etc. They ban it, and of course that's what's recommended today. Yeah.
So it just goes to show. And one of the other things we do, what we do, the research, the magazine, Revealing Knowledge. By the way, thank you for sharing the link. I appreciate you.
Oh yeah,
sharing to everybody. Is to show people that you can learn from each other, not only about different languages, cuisine, martial arts, but for many of the modern problems people experience right now in 2024, other cultures around the world, including Africa, they already have solutions to that, people that can learn from.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll just give you one example, which is unrelated, which is to do with medicine. Have you ever suffered from asthma?
Thank God, no.
Okay. If you go to Google and then type in, is there a cure for asthma? They will tell you that the WHO or the Western institutions in the West will tell you that there is no cure. But in Tanzania, I know because I have a personal experience. I used to have asthma when I was 4 years old. And they would take me to a doctor, have an inhaler. The inhaler would give you temporary, relaxation, but it wouldn't cure the root cause, which were bacterial deep within the lungs themselves. Now, in Tanzania, we have people called Nganga, which are like traditional healers. And there's this medicine in Swahili that we call dawa chungu, which translated into English means bitter medicine. It's basically made from herbs, trees, and other ingredients, which for obvious reasons I cannot divulge right now, because the certain of my teachers are watching. And to cut a long story short, I took that medicine, and within 2 hours, all the mucus and all the bacteria within the lungs that were causing the asthma was regurgitated out. And that medicine in Tanzania, we were using, we've known about it for a couple of thousand years, going back 2,000 years. I mean, they were the cure for asthma, what they call eczema. There's a cure for it by the Nganga in Congo. There was a tribe, the Maasai, and also the Pygmy people, what they call the Pygmy people in Central Africa. They have the lowest cases of heart disease, cancer anywhere in the world, due to their diet and the fact that they drink a potion made from barks every morning before eating breakfast. But when you look at countries like, I'm sorry to say, it's like Europe or the West, cases of heart disease, diabetes, hypertension,
But here's the thing, though. It's not big pharma. You know what I mean? Like making the big money, you know what I mean? With pushing all these chemicals into people and all that. You know what I mean? It's so aggravating. And then healthcare cost, insurance. You know what I mean?
I know. So it's just to show that in many parts of the world we have found solutions which, you know, that can help people in the West. I mean, and also to say this other point without sounding like what's the word? Without sounding like a conspiracy theorist, because I know a lot of people in the healers they might say
Yeah.
that during you know, during the whole COVID pandemic thing,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of people were saying, you know, obviously it's a world thing. A lot of people died, you know, which was a very terrible thing. A lot of the different institutions, including the WHO, predicted that when COVID came to Africa, Africa would be the most devastated hit in the whole planet. Do you remember hearing news about that?
Yeah. Yeah. You guys would get just wiped out, right? Yeah.
But in reality, even now, I mean, go and look at the stats. I'm not making it up. Africa is one of the few continents in the whole world that was least affected.
Wow.
You know, and they say, you know, that's due to the fact that, you know, urban living, the diet they have. A lot of the people use traditional medicines. You know, there was one manufacturer in Madagascar released, you know, what they call traditional potion, which WHO debunked to say it didn't work. But look right now, the COVID case in Madagascar, in many parts of Africa compared to the world. And there's your answer.
I'm not. Yeah, that's wow. That is so interesting.
But yeah, so I mean, I appreciate you inviting me.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
for speaking and allow us to share into a magazine. And you know, yeah. So I mean, this has been
Definitely.
you know,
No,
I hoped been you know, helpful for people who are listening.
I thought this is incredible. I thought it was incredibly interesting and informative and stuff I didn't know. Yeah, I'm going to. Matter of fact, what I'm going to do is, matter of fact, when I got you on, I'm going to take your link. I'm going to post it in the group there. Just bear with me here.
Sure.
This way, okay.
Oh, you mean, is that the magazine link?
Yeah, I'm going to put it in FMA discussion. Okay, here we go. Okay, I'm just going to. All right, I'm posting in there now, saying, you know, definitely check out. Very informative. Okay, I just posted in there. Yeah, put it right in the group there. So, yeah, absolutely. No, I thank you for coming on. This was wonderful. I really appreciate it, and I would like to bring you back on.
Yeah, sure. Anytime.
Yeah, if you can get somebody and like just do demos where folks can actually see like what you guys do, you know.
I actually, we can do even better. You know that gentleman Patrick, the one we're talking about.
Yeah.
Next time, what I think would be good would be we could have me, you, and Patrick like in a whole like a gym type setting.
Yeah.
So as we're speaking, he could demonstrate the stick, knife, axe, and he could demonstrate the empty hands as we're doing live.
That would be perfect. Yeah, that would be. Yeah, talk to him anytime you talk to him. We can form a group message and let me know. But I would love to do that.
Yeah, definitely. So because a lot of I know some people might find it interesting because you know, but it would be better if people could see visually how it looks.
Yeah.
You know, the timing, the speed, and then you break down each technique like the way Patrick did when he was using knife, and then he was showing the reason why you slap the elbow there. You know, to you know to use this going forward and use it as an opening.
Yeah.
That'll be you know, it's like, what's the word? It's like a picture speaks 1,000 words or something to that effect. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No, talk to him and let me know. I mean, I would more absolutely do that. Yeah.
No, no, definitely. I mean, obviously, thank you for inviting me. And I don't know how it's impacted people or how many people were listening. But
No, we did good, man. I mean, what it does is after I do this, I download it and I put it on YouTube.
oh, okay.
So when it's
Wow.
on YouTube, that's where it's going to get most of the views. Yeah.
Wow.
And I'll send you the link from the YouTube.
No, that'd be great. Oh, so on YouTube, that's when okay, I understand. Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Because I was thinking live, literally, there are live people sitting down for the past, how long
Yeah,
have we talking?
yeah, there has been people watching live, but what I do is after that, I throw it up on the YouTube channel and then it gets more views.
No, that'd be great if you could send us a link. I mean, I've just checked the time. I think we've been on for like what, 2 hours now?
Well, we had the
issue, yeah.
Yeah, just about. I mean, actual interview time, hour and a half, but between the tech stuff, yeah, about 2 hours. Yeah.
Wow, okay, an hour and a half.
Yeah.
It didn't seem that long because I figured, okay, wow, that's quite interesting. Yeah, so like I said, definitely next time I will bring Patrick along so he can demonstrate.
Send me a message. Let me know if it has to be a Sunday. That's perfect. Just let me know what works for you guys, but I will absolutely make it happen. I think demos would be great.
No, definitely, and I hope, like I said, thank you for inviting, and I hope us sharing the magazine, a lot of people can see it and purchase, and then also, we hope you would purchase your own copy as well, so you can get a flavor of what's inside.
I will. After I do it, I'm definitely going to be looking at it. Absolutely. Yeah. So, but
thank you. I appreciate you inviting me, and yeah, I mean, me and you will still communicate offline, but
sure.
Definitely next time. I mean, what we can do, with your permission, it can be maybe like an ongoing thing. Like we can do Patrick, and then another time, I can have our teachers from Nigeria demonstrating live as well.
Anybody you want to bring, you just let me know. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because then once you see them physically,
oh my God,
and then you see what they do and how they do it, and their demeanor and whatnot, then maybe you can understand why we have to get permission from them before we reveal anything.
Yeah,
no.
I mean, we'll get Pat first, and we can just go. Yeah, we can just continue. Absolutely, definitely.
Wow. Well, once again, I appreciate you inviting me, and yeah, I look forward to more conversations.
All right, okay, Rich. You take care, and I'll wait to hear from you, and I'll send you the YouTube link when I get it downloaded.
Thank you, and we look forward to your first purchase.
All right, thank you. You take care, sir.
Have a nice evening. Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, folks, that wraps up 491. Who is next? I don't even know. I should know. I think Tondo Boys. We're going to come back for part 2, I think, hopefully early next week. On he was a student under GM Tony Dago. Yeah, Josh Woods. I'm thinking that's going to happen. But then I got to reach out to Maya, her on her new book, and some other folks. But yeah, yeah. Again, as always, will be pinned and shared in FMA discussion. But check out that magazine. I mean, that looks pretty interesting. I just posted an FMA discussion, and the link is here as well. $15 for the download. If you insist on a hard copy, 25. But looks pretty interesting. So do check that out. And I don't know, they seem like really good guys. So yeah. Hey, Sean. Yeah, I appreciate it. I think so too, buddy. I think so. Great guy there, Sean. Very generous. Yeah, but awesome, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in and watching. And yeah, that link, I already posted in any discussion. It takes you right to the magazine. And I just posted in here as well. Yeah, right there, matter of fact. But do check it out. All right. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.